What up, everybody? Appreciate y'all tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be tuned in anytime we drop another video. So, what we wanted to kind of discuss today is signs that you are insecure. And so, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the channel, but we can get right into it. The first sign is actually constantly seeking reassurance. And that's always trying to get validation, approval, acceptance from other people. So you're always needing them to compliment you. You're always needing them to tell you that you did a good job. You're always needing them to tell you that um, what you did is acceptable. You're always needing them to celebrate you or clap for you. You're always, if you're in a relationship, you're always needing your partner to let you know everything is okay, that they love you, that they like you, that your outfit looks good, that you look beautiful, that your hair looks nice, that the shoes you just bought is okay, that the job that you're doing is okay, what you want to do on Friday night is okay. You're constantly seeking reassurance for every single thing that you want to do, every single thing that you feel. And it makes it hard for a person to actually be authentic when they're suffering from that form of insecurity, because it will make you always want to bend to the desires and the wills of everybody else. Because if you feel like that they won't approve of it, you won't do it. If you feel like that they won't accept that side of you, you won't even reveal that side of you. So it'll make it hard for you to actually be vulnerable and be authentic, because you're always just going to want to be approved and accepted and welcome into that actual group. Because hardwired into our nervous system is this need to belong, and that's basically for a survival thing. So if you're constantly seeking reassurance, that's a clear sign that you're actually struggling with insecurity. And it can stem from a lot of different things. It can stem from your past childhood experiences in which maybe it was modeled for you. Maybe one of your parents were very insecure and they were always seeking reassurance from either their partner or from parents or from coworkers or from friends or just from the child, whatever it is. So you just kind of learn that. It could stem from past experiences or past relationships where maybe a person constantly beat you down, or love was always conditional, or this person maybe abandoned you or rejected you in a sense. So now you have a low self-esteem and low self-worth, and now you just need reassurance because really you just have low self-esteem. So it can really come from different places, but the most important thing is that it will be self-destructive, because we can't outperform our self-image. So if you got a low view of yourself, which is making you feel insecure, which is causing you to always seek reassurance, you won't be able to really have sustainable relationships. You won't be able to have a sustainable career with an upward trajectory. You won't really be able to have long-term fulfillment or long-term peace. So we got to be mindful of this particular insecurity, or this sign of the insecurity, which is constant reassurance. The next one is fear of rejection or abandonment. And that is an intense and deep rooted fear that people will reject you or people will leave you. And a lot of that stems from low self worth as well, where you feel that you're not good enough for people to stay around. Because if you were good enough for people to stay around, they wouldn't abandon you. They wouldn't reject you. So this called the fear of abandonment, and the fear of rejection can cause you to try to go above and beyond for people. It can cause you to people please. It can cause you to start being clingy in a certain situation. But it also tends to cause you to self sabotage relationships because you fear that they're going to reject you, or you fear they're going to abandon you. So unconsciously, you do certain things to end the relationship before they inevitably end it, because you got the fear that they're going to reject you and the fear that they're going to abandon you anyway. So you want to be mindful of that clear sign that you have an insecurity, which is the fear that people won't like you and people will reject you. And again, it stems from a low self-worth, because if you had a high value of yourself, when you feel good about yourself, you don't think that people will reject you, because you will be like, people want to be around good. But the fact that you believe people don't want to be around you, or you feel people will reject you or abandon you, lets you know that you don't feel valuable. Because if you did feel valuable, you wouldn't even be worried about people leaving you. If people did leave you, you would think that it got something to do with them and nothing to do with you. You would actually have a secure attachment style. Secure meaning I'm not fearing intimacy, nor am I chasing it. If it comes, it comes. And if it wants to go, it wants to go. But when you got the fear of abandonment and the fear of rejection, it's definitely difficult to have a healthy attachment style. And you tend to veer more into the avoidant or where the avoidant is where you value your independence over your relationships, or you move into the anxious attachment style, which is like you're not comfortable being alone and you're always craving intimacy. Either one you need to be mindful of. The next one is jealousy and comparison with others. So if you're always extremely jealous of other people's success, other people's accomplishments, other people doing good, other people getting praise or celebration or status, that's a clear sign. And if you're always comparing yourself, like when they do good and you're comparing yourself to what you wasn't able to do, that is a clear sign that you are insecure, and it's going to make you more insecure. It's going to shrink your self-worth. It's going to shrink whatever confidence you actually have, making you feel you're not good enough, making you feel like you're not capable, making you feel like you're not deserving and worthy, making you feel like that certain things that you desire isn't possible. It's possible for other people, but it ain't possible for you. That's what that insecurity will do when you're constantly comparing yourself to other people. It's a quote that said, "The sun doesn't measure its power based upon the shadow that it casts. The sun doesn't measure its shadow based upon the sun doesn't measure its power based upon the shadow that it casts." And what that is basically saying is my good doesn't come from overshadowing other people, making over other people overlooked, throwing shade at other people. My power just comes from within me. And so that's why I always tell people you only want to compare yourself with others as a form of inspiring yourself to do better. You only want to compare yourself to others as opposed to inspiring yourself to say, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me, because we're all humans. We never want to compare ourselves to say their grass is greener and my grass isn't that green, man. And then you start feeling jealous because that's going to make you feel less than. That's going to make you feel insecure. And one of the major causes of suffering is if you perceive that you are less than. So the comparison with other people and jealousy, that is one of the main signs that you feel that you are less than, or one of the main causes of you feeling less than. Because you'll never be okay with your own status. You'll never be okay with what you got. You'll always be seeing what somebody else got and then be mad that you ain't got it, which is a form of insecurity because you're not secure within yourself and what you have. So you want to be mindful of that. Perfectionism and fear. Perfectionism is this sense of like everything has to be right before I do anything. And the fear of failure is just, fear of making mistakes, fear of not being perfect, fear of um, not wanting to have things go astray or not go right according to plan. But the thing is, though, nothing ever really goes according to plan. And we need to reframe our thoughts on failure because we need to fail forward. We need to fail faster. And we need to realize that it's only failed when we stop. But it's okay to be failing, because when we're failing, we are learning. It's okay as long as we're willing to take that feedback, make the necessary adjustments, and stay along our path. Then ultimately we will reach where we want to reach. It's like that rocket that's off course 99% of its journey, but it lands where it needs to land roughly 100% of the time because it's constantly course correcting. It's constantly taking in the feedback of where it's at, making the necessary adjustments, course correcting, and it'll ultimately land where it needs to land. And we need to adopt the same thing. So if you're struggling with perfectionism or the fear of failure, you need to learn to receive constructive feedback, make the necessary adjustments. So be flexible in your approach, and ultimately you will land where you want to land. But perfectionism will cause you to literally stall your progress, stall your advancement in life, because you will only want to move when everything is laid out, when everything goes according to plan, when everything is perfect. And as we know, Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it tends to go wrong. So rarely, if ever, do things go 100% according to plan. So if you struggle with this insecurity of the fear of failure and perfectionism, you will notice that a whole bunch of people around you is passing you in life because they're willing to fail, make the necessary adjustments, and keep going forward. But you want everything to be perfect, so you just stand still, stand still, stand still. And when you look up and so much time has passed, everybody else is starting to lap you in life. And you're like, yo, what happened? I know I'm better than this person. I know I'm better than this person. But you don't take as much action as them because you got this perfectionism and this fear of failure, insecurity actually weighing you down, actually being an anchor and shackles to your feet and holding you and bonding you and bounding you in actual place. So we want to be mindful of that insecurity, the fear of failure and perfectionism. A lot of these things can be learned behavior. A lot of these things can come from families with high expectations. A lot of these things can come from environments in which you only got approval or love or celebration when everything was perfect, when you achieved at a very, very high level, and maybe you got a lot of punishment or ridicule or embarrassment or humiliation anytime you failed. So now you got this deep negative association of failing, and now you got this whole thing of, if I am not perfect, then that means I'm not good enough. Then I won't be loved. Then I won't be accepted. And a lot of people who have the fear of failure, under that is they fear that if they fail, they won't be loved. And again, a lot of that comes from how they were actually treated, their unconscious conditioning. Many people think that, oh, that's just who I am. That's not who you are. It is literally just your unconscious conditioning. That's why Carl Jung said we must make our unconscious behavior conscious, because until we make our unconscious behavior conscious, our unconscious behavior will dictate our life, and we will think that is fate. In actuality, it's not fate. It is literally our unconscious conditioning. Defensiveness and difficulty trusting people. If we have a difficulty trusting people and we're always getting defensive, that can be a sign of insecurity. That can be hard to form meaningful relationships if you're always expecting somebody else to be on BS, if you're always expecting somebody else to do you wrong, if you're always expecting somebody to betray you, or you're waiting on the other shooter drop. It causes you to be in this heightened state of vigilance where you're always scouring your environment, waiting for something to go wrong, put you in a heightened state of anxiety, and it will wreck your nervous system. It will cause you to hyper stress. It could mess with your digestive system because you're stressing so much. It can start messing with your sleep because you're stressing so much. It can cause you to be irritable around other people and you shut down, or be volatile around them. It can have so many different issues. And then again, it makes it hard to actually be close. It makes it hard to form meaningful relationships because you don't want to be vulnerable with them. You don't want to be exposed to them because you feel like they're going to hurt you. And most of the time, it's not even because of something they did. That comes from something early on in life where somebody betrayed our trust. And because we tend to generalize things to help the brain from being overwhelmed, if only thing it takes is for us to be betrayed once or twice, maybe three times, and then next thing you know, we generalize that and we assume all relationships have betrayal in it. We assume all people are going to do that, which again makes, somebody says something to us, we interpret it as a sly remark, and then we're getting in confrontation. So it causes a whole bunch of blow ups. It causes a whole bunch of unnecessary arguments. So you got to get to the root of that low self esteem, or that difficulty in trusting others, and that being defensive all the time, because it will cripple, that insecurity will cripple your ability to have meaningful relationships. It will cripple your ability to have sustainable relationships, because in your mind you'll just be like, it's only a matter of time before they do me wrong. And if you're always seeking it, that is what you will find. And self-fulfilling prophecies are real, so you'll tend to only attract people that can make that story come true for you. So if you always believe that people are going to do you wrong, you'll attract the people that will prove you right. If you always believe that people speak to you in a negative way and are trying to judge and ridicule you and make sly remarks at you and all that, you will always attract people to prove yourself right. So that is why we want to heal that particular insecurity. The avoidance of vulnerability. Avoidance of vulnerability is a huge insecurity that a lot of people deal with. And that is where they are afraid of being authentic. They are afraid of being their true self. They're afraid to talk about the things that make them afraid, the things that make them angry, the things that cause them pain, the things that hurt them. They don't want to talk about that. They want to keep it in and have this stoic face and make it seem like they are invincible or undisturbed. And that is a huge insecurity, because all of the emotions are part of the human experience. Now, I do believe that we shouldn't just be feeling these emotions all willy nilly, but we should allow our bodies to feel them whenever our body is trying to feel them. And we should allow our bodies to be able to process them. But if we're always trying to avoid vulnerability, if we're always trying to avoid how we're actually feeling, if the feeling comes to cry, the urge comes to cry, and you want to suck it up, the urge comes to just be angry and you just automatically want to calm yourself down. Sometimes you got to allow yourself to feel the particular emotions, because emotions are just action signals. They are trying to send you or convey you a certain message of what is going on in your environment and what you actually need to do. But if we're always trying to fear vulnerability, which means we don't want to feel the emotions, then what we'll do is pacify them, or we'll try to suppress the emotions. So we'll take drugs, we'll drink, we'll have sex, we'll be addicted to people and always want to be around people. We'll be addicted to social media or TV and always doing something to distract ourselves. because we're not comfortable feeling the sensations of the body. We're not comfortable letting our mind just freely associate and just drift to whatever thoughts, because we're afraid of what may actually come up. So you got to deal with that particular insecurity. Low self-esteem and negative self-talk. That's a huge insecurity that a lot of people have to deal with, because the strongest force in the human personality is to remain consistent with how it defines itself. So if you have this insecurity of low self-worth, low self-esteem, and negative self-talk, then that will be your autopilot. You will give no actual effort into thinking great about yourself. All your unconscious effort would actually go into thinking less of yourself. So anytime a situation happens, immediately your mind will go to the worst case scenario. Anytime somebody says something, immediately your mind starts interpreting it as the worst case thing. When you're talking to yourself, immediately your mind will go to the negative. When you're thinking about yourself, immediately your mind will go to the negative. It will be hard for you to even associate positive things with yourself. So you got to get to the root cause of that insecurity, which is low self-worth. And then once you heal all your unresolved wounds, then your self-worth starts to increase. And once your self-worth starts to increase, then you are in a position to neutralize that particular negative self-talk. And then you're able to switch it to positive self-talk, and not like you are just doing some positive thinking of, going into the garden, closing your eyes and saying, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. No, it's saying that you have actually done the work of pulling out the negative thoughts, the negative weeds, the things that's actually causing you to have that low self-worth. And then you plant things in there that makes you have a high self-worth. And then that starts taking over the internal dialogue. And now you don't have negative self-talk. You actually have positive self-talk. So you got to heal that insecurity of low self-esteem and negative self-talk, viewing that you're not necessarily a blessing, or not you're not necessarily good. And then social withdrawal and isolation. If you're constantly just wanting to be by yourself, and you wanting to be by yourself because you feel people will reject you, you feel people won't like you feel people won't accept you, then that is where the insecurity of social withdrawals and isolation comes in, where you just isolate yourself because you don't feel good enough, because you don't feel worthy, but it causes you to feel lonely. And then once those loneliness feelings kick in, you'll start to accept the company of people that don't serve your best interest. You'll start to accept the company of people who really reflect your low vibration, your lowest self, not the people that reflect your highest self. You'll start to attract people that match your past, not people that's actually matching the future that you desire. So you want to be mindful when you start to withdraw and isolate yourself. Catch yourself early and surround yourself with people that really, really love you, that really, really know the real you. Because it's hard to see the picture when you're standing in the frame. So when I'm in my own picture, I can't really see myself objectively. But if I surround myself with a loving, supportive, empowering network, then they can tell me when I'm tripping, because they can see the whole picture, because they're not in a frame. So they can tell me, nah, Chris, you bugging. That's not how it is. You really a good person. You're an amazing father. Man, you so smart. You got so many things checking for you. While me, I could just be focusing on everything that's going wrong in life. So that's what making me withdraw. They come up, stop me from actually socially withdrawal, and they catch me in my isolation, and they start pouring the truth into me. So I can divorce this limiting idea that I have of myself, and I can marry the actual truth about myself. And it's easier to do that when you got a support system that can see you objectively. So if you're struggling with the insecurity of socially withdrawal, then you need to get to the root cause of that, because that will cause you to actually isolate, and that isolation will cause you to start spiraling. So be mindful of that. So just quickly, we just talked about signs that you're actually insecure, which is if you're constantly needing reassurance, you're constantly needing your partners, your friends, your loved ones, your parents, your kids to always tell you everything is going to be okay. Huge insecurity. The fear of rejection or abandonment, where you're always feeling like people will leave you, or people will abandon you, or people won't accept you. You got to address that. Jealousy and comparison with others, where you're always looking at everybody else's grass and talking about how their grass is greener than yours, but you're never actually thinking about what all they're doing to their grass to make their grass greener. And if you did the same thing to your grass would be the exact same way. You got to get to that insecurity. Perfectionism and the fear of failure, where you have these super high standards of yourself where you can't make a mistake. And then you don't even want to attempt, because unless it's perfect, you don't want to try. So perfectionism and the fear of failure, you got to get to the root cause of that, because if not, then what that will do is cause you to settle for what's in front of you, as opposed to just going for what you truly desire. Defensiveness and difficulty trusting people. If anytime somebody says something to you, immediately get defensive. That's a sign that you don't really see the value in yourself, because only weak man has small egos. You want to be mindful of that. And if you have a difficulty trusting other people, that stems from an insecurity, because that stems from a past pain in which something happened. And now you're generalizing that into everybody. That's basically becoming like the cat that touched the hot stove and then decided to touch no stoves ever again. It didn't distinguish between hot stoves versus cold stoves. And that's what we actually got to do. If we got trust issues, it makes it hard for us to distinguish between hot stoves and cold stoves. We just assume all stoves are hot, and that's dangerous. Avoidance of vulnerability, making it seem like it's hard for us to actually speak our truth and just feel and be human. God gave us these emotions, so there's nothing wrong with it. Now, there is wrong with us experiencing a lot of these emotions in excess, but just to feel the emotions, period, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make us weak, and we actually feel to remain strong, not because we're weak. Low self-esteem and negative self-talk. If you don't have a healthy view of yourself, then you will only be able to attract the things that's on the same level of your self-esteem, which is why you got to heal that. And then social withdrawals and isolation. When you don't really feel good about yourself and you're insecure, you won't really want to be around other people. And that isolation can be destructive. So if this was valuable to you today, or if any of these signs of insecurity resonated with you, then click the link to schedule a free healing discovery call with the McBride Institute, and let's get to the root cause of a lot of these insecurities, and let's start your healing process today. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can tune in. Appreciate y'all tuning in to the McBride Institute. Peace.